Da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum. What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Oh, hi there, YouTube. I'm back again today for another game review, another special Kickstarter review. And today I'm very excited to be checking out Siege of Sunfall from Grey Gnome Games. For 3 to 6 players, ages 12 plus. It'll take you about 30 minutes to play. It's going to be coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. And in Siege of Sunfall, you're going to be taking different units and then bidding on how many of them you are going to be sending into battle. All your opponents are going to be doing this in a blind bidding-esque way. And you have to be sure that you defeat your enemies or else you will be eliminated from the round. You can't get glorious more troops and victory points. It's got a steampunk-ish-y theme, I think. I don't know what steampunk is, really. Let's open it up and I'll tell you about the mechanisms. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Siege of Sunfall. Before we get started, I do want to mention this is the promotional copy in front of me, so take everything you see here with a grain of salt. First and foremost, we have a handy-dandy rule sheet. It is 2 pages, double-sided. It's a very well-done rule sheet. It'll have you up and running in no time at all. Big thumbs up on that. And also, you're going to have this little player aid card that's in front of you that's also going to serve as your little board right here so people can't see your troops. I'm going to put it face down right here, though, so you can see it as I go through the game. So in Siege of Sunfall, what you're going to be doing is you're going to have your units, your troops right here, and you are going to be using those troops to either settle down at your location to potentially upgrade your troops or get more victory points, or most of the time you're going to be using them to fight various different enemies that are going to be coming up. And these enemies are going to come in 3 different ways. They're going to be blue ones, they're going to be yellow ones, and they are going to be red ones. And you're going to be trying to gain the most victory points at the end of the game, which will be these numbered tokens right here. So we'll go over the components, we'll get a little bit into the gameplay. So first and foremost, you're going to have tokens, and more tokens. And most of the tokens are either going to be victory points, which will be the numbers as we mentioned, or your units right here, which will be these gray guys, and they will count as 1 victory point at the end of each round. And you'll play X amount of rounds, depending on how many players you have, as you see right there, or you will use them to send them into battle to fight the bad guys on these cards right here. And you're going to be doing a simultaneous bidding when you do that. We'll talk more about that later. Now, there's also some other tokens in here, because one of the actions you'll be able to take at the beginning of a round is you'll be able to put down 1 on any one of these 3 spots. So you could potentially put down 3 right here. So put 1, 2, 3. And these guys are not fighting this time, but they are training. So that next round, when you get them, they will turn into a special blue archery guy who's got the long range, or a horse guy, so will be trained in the art of battle. And essentially when you get into battle, those guys will be worth slightly more if they are facing up against a specific color. So we're just going to go rock, paper, scissors here. So the blue one is going to be very good against the yellow. The yellow one is going to be very good against the red. The red one's going to be very good against the blue. So if you choose to, you can upgrade your guys and turn them into blue, so whenever you face a yellow, instead of being worth 1, which these are normally worth, they will be worth 3, so they're more valuable to you. You also can decide to put your troops right here, which will gain you 2 resource points as long as you survive the round, which will make more sense when we get to the round. So that's what you need to know on most of the tokens. There's also a couple other tokens that pertain to special cards that you will come into. We're not going to go too much into those, but we will talk about them. There are going to be 3 special cards that are not these guys that will come onto the deck. This one is going to allow you to gain 3 resources immediately. That is essentially just gaining 3 points, so that's very useful. The next one is going to be a rad attack. Discard this card and take 1 radiation chit, which is this chit right here, and spend this chit to add 2 to any future bid. So essentially, you would be bidding on whether or not you want +2 later in the future. Also very useful. Last but not least, you have Hire Mercenaries, which is just going to allow you to add 3 extra troops to your army when you begin a round. So you will be bidding on those. But let's get to the bidding so you can understand what I'm talking about. We're going to set it up for a 3-player game right now, which means we're going to take these cards right here, and we're going to shuffle up all these cards, minus the Siege End cards right here, and we're going to get 8 cards. So we've got our 8 cards right here, and these are going to be the cards that we have in the first round. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the bottom 4 cards of these decks, and we're going to shuffle up this Siege Ends cards right in there, and then pop it on the bottom. So we're not exactly sure when the siege is going to end. We don't know exactly how long we're going to have to be fighting. So now what's going to happen is we're going to look down here. We're going to take our 12 units, because you're always going to be starting with X amount of troops. Most of the time it's 12, but when you play with the higher player counts, it'll be 10, as you can see right there. and you are going to decide if you want to assign any of them onto the board right here. Now, when you assign them to this board right here, they are done for you for the rest of this round. You cannot take them off of this board, but as I mentioned, they can have good long-term effects, or they can just get you victory points. So you know what, we are going to say we'll put 1 on blue and 1 on red, which will leave us 10 left. So we have 10 left over here. This is all secret information. No one can see this, but obviously since it's just me sitting here, as far as you know, we're going to just leave it face down like this. Now, once everyone's done that, we now have our 10 units. Our opponents might have 12. They might have 7. It really all depends. And we're going to flip over the top card of this deck right here. We're going to have to be facing a yellow. It's a 5 yellow. He has a 5 defense, which means we need to have at least 5 units combined between everyone at the table in order to defeat him. So at this point, we're all going to take however many units we want into our hand and put them into our hand. We'd reach them out like this, so we'll just put, this guy goes 2, this guy goes 1. This is all secret, of course. And then I'm going to have 3. So we all reveal at the same time. We count it up and we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have successfully defeated this guy. That's great. We lose all of our units, and then whoever bid the most is going to receive this card. Now, if there is a tie, what happens is this card stays right here, which means someone else could win this card, plus potentially the next card next time you go around. So what's going to happen then is that as you progressively add more cards, this is going to be way more valuable, and you're going to want to defeat them. Now, if there's a tie, nobody gets it, as I mentioned, and the players that tied to either keep their troops, the other players are going to get half of their troops, I believe, rounded down or rounded up. I don't remember right off the top of my head. So let's pretend we won this, and now it goes in front of us, and we would move on to the next part of our round. And we have another yellow, which is, this one's a 2. So we have 3 players in this hypothetical game. We're pretty sure we're going to win this one. But here's the thing. This guy really wants to get this card, because what's going to happen is, if you can get a set of 3, either of a particular color or of all 3 colors, so if you could get these 3 right here, or, let's see if there's another yellow, these 3 right here, you immediately are going to gain a bonus in the middle of the round. So let's take a look down at the bottom left, and you'll understand how the bonuses work. So when you get a set, either all the same 3 colors or all different colors, you're immediately going to get these letters right here. So T is for troops, which are these gray guys right here, and R is for reserves, which is victory points. So right now, we would get 6 troops, and we would get 1 victory point, which is fantastic, because what's going to happen is, at the end of a round, when we hit the siege end cards, all of your troops that you have left are going to be worth 1 victory point. So those 6 troops we just got by trading that in could potentially be worth 6 points to us at the end of the round, which is a great deal of points. So that's why you want to do that. Also, you're never going to know when the round ends. So let's say we don't reach a number. So let's say we get to this 7 right here, and we only come up with 6. Let's just say one guy puts in 3, one guy puts in 2, and then I get greedy, and I only put in 0. That would mean I am out of this round. I have been eliminated from this round, because whoever bids the lowest when you lose a battle loses all their troops. So all my troops over here, they are now gone. All my troops on this board right here, they are now gone. And I am unfortunately out of the round, but the other 2 players will continue to fight the good fight against the evil bird, ostrich people, whatever's going on, which means they have the potential to gain more points. Also, when you lose a battle, this card just goes away. No one earns it. So, what happens if it's a tie? What happens, for instance, if this guy played 3, this guy played 0, and this guy down here played 0? Well, that would mean this guy would stay in the round, and the other 2 people would both be out of the round, meaning that there could be potentially only 1 person in a round. Now let's go back to these 3 special ability cards we talked about a little bit earlier. These work just the same as these cards, where you will be bidding on these cards. Because, for instance, if you bid on this one, you're going to be able to add 3 extra troops at the beginning of a round, or gain 3 victory points immediately, but you don't have to win these. There will be some instances where you're like, man, I really can't afford to spend the troops right now, so I'm not even going to bid on them. But the other people don't know that, because as we mentioned, it's all secret bidding. So it adds like this cool little element of subterfuge there. Anywho, you're going to continue to go until all of the cards have ran out, at which point you will total up your victory points, and whoever has the most victory points will be the winner of the game. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention is that if you survive the end of the round, you get to the siege end cards, what's going to happen is you're going to get victory points for all your troops. So let's just say you had 3 gray guys left. You would turn those 3 gray guys in for 3 victory points, and you would get 12 new units, at least in a 3 and 4 player game, for the next round. Now let's pretend that you had this blue guy right here. You would not gain a victory point for him right now, but what you would do is you would still have your 12 gray units, but now you would have an additional 1 blue unit. And this guy does not get discarded until you decide to use him. So essentially, you can hoard up the red and the blue and the orange guys as long as you keep winning rounds until you use them, which can be a pretty cool strategy, especially towards the end of the game. But that, in a nutshell, is how Siege of Sunfall is played. Alrighty then, Siege of Sunfall from Grey Gnome Games coming to a Kickstarter near you very soon. I'll be sure to post the Kickstarter link down below. What are my final thoughts? Go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game is not going to be for everybody. It is a light game. Grey Gnomes Games tries to hit that 30-minute to like 45-minute time frame, and they do that successfully with that game. But if you're hoping for more meat on the bones, this one might not be for you. Also, you pretty much just do the same things over and over and over again. There's not too many veering paths to victory, which is going to bother some people. Another con I had on this was that I liked it best at 3, 4, and 5 players. 6 players, while it still is a very solid game, I just wanted a little bit more, because I believe at 6 players, you only play 4 rounds, as opposed to the rest of the 3, 4, and 5, you play 5 rounds or 6 rounds, and I just liked having a little bit more time to plan and maneuver and build up my troops, my special troops, and so I thought with 4 rounds, it was just a little bit too short, which is kind of an odd complaint. Another con I have of this that I think is going to really bug some people is that you can be eliminated from a round very quickly, because there will be times in the game where you'll be like, alright, I have no interest in this card, I'm pretty sure the other people at the table are going to successfully defeat this guy, and if you play a 0 or a 1, and you guys don't defeat the troop, then you could be knocked out very early, and that's very discouraging, because everything you set down in your settlement is gone, all your troops are gone, and you're just sitting there. And some people are not going to like that. I personally thought it added to the tension of the game, and I think it's pro, but I know some people were turned off by that. Another con is that the theme it's pretty much pasted on. While the theme does technically fit, this could be just about anything. And so the theme and the artwork is also going to be very hit or miss with some people. Very interesting art style. I personally like it. I'm not sure if it's going to be the final art style. They sent me a picture, which I don't have, which looked really cool. But I feel like this art style is going to be a turn on to some people, turn off to other people. Any other cons that I have with this game? No, not that I can really think of. This was a very solid hit at the table. Siege of Sunfall went over very well at my table at all different player counts. Everybody enjoyed the game. Even the people who got discouraged when they got knocked out of a round, like say in the first card, they still had fun with this game. There's a lot of different reasons why I like this game. First and foremost, it's very easy to learn, very easy to teach. Always a good thing. The rule booklet is short, simple, compact, to the point, well done. Component-wise, this is a prototype, but the components are nice. I like having the little board here. I like the fact that you have to decide on the settlement. It's like, do I want to upgrade these troops because later in the game they will really help me out and help me, win battles? Or do I want to just make sure I have all the troops in my hands so that way I can be prepared to win the different battles? Another thing I liked about this was the set collection aspect of it, because it made for some really fun, tense moments where you'd be sitting there, because as soon as you get a set of either, yellow, red, or blue, or 3 of a color, you immediately gain those troops and those victory points, so you can be like, oh, I see him over there. He really wants to win this card right here. So you yourself can kind of screw that person over by going super high, or you can use that to your advantage and say, all right, I know he's going to bid a lot because he really wants to win this card right here. So I don't need to bid too much. Maybe I bid 0 because I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to carry the bulk of the weight. It makes for some really interesting choices, because if you can get those troops near the end of a round, you gain all those troops, and those are essentially like as good as gaining victory points right there. Another thing I really liked about this game, and that I was worried about when we first played the game, was everyone gets eliminated from a round very early, and there's only one person left to fight. That does not necessarily mean they were going to run away with the game. In fact, we found that to be the exact opposite. Maybe they gain like a victory point or 2 or something like that. But for the most part, if everyone gets knocked out of a round very early, it's not that big of a point swing, which I was worried about, so I was very happy that was how it was. The rock paper scissors mechanism of the red versus the yellow versus the blue, that worked out very well. Game night game, yes. Family game, yes. Gateway game, maybe-ish. I feel like these 3 cards right here, the special ability cards, while some gateway gamers are going to be able to completely wrap their heads around that very quickly, I feel like some might be like, wait, what's going on? But overall, Siege of Sunfall went over incredibly well at my table. I can't wait to get my hands on the final version of this. A lot of fun, highly recommended, plays well to different player counts, just an overall hit for Grey Gnome Games. That is Siege of Sunfall on a Kickstarter right now. Be sure to check out the Kickstarter link down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, suntan lotion, bug spray, do you use them routinely? And if not, why not? You know you should. Me personally, I don't use sunscreen that often. My wife gets on me all the time. I just don't like how it makes me feel. Like I already got messed up pores, so I get pimples on like the back of my neck and my back, and when I feel that on there, it just feels so greasy and I feel terrible. But let me know in the comments below. Do you use it? As for bug spray, yeah, I use it all the time. I lather myself up. I shower in that stuff. I love the smell of bug spray. But yeah, and as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.